virtual, this is October, right? October meeting of the Human Relations Commission of the City of Palo Alto. Our first order of business is the adoption of the resolution authorizing use of teleconferencing for Human Relations Commission meeting during COVID-19 state of emergency. This motion will allow us to have members of our panel participate on Zoom and public participate on Zoom. Do I have a motion? Thank you. Yes.
Chair, can you just wait? Elena is going to get do you need to get the motion on the screen or are you just going to write it on your own?
I have it on.
Okay. Okay, we do need to do roll call first.
Okay. I thought we had to do resolution before we could do anything.
That's the first order of business, but we first need to technically see that we have a quorum and just call the roll.
Okay.
So, and if you could,
And Tracy, if you can come on camera, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Staff, can we please do roll call?
Tracy, if you could come on camera, Commissioner Navachoke, if you could come on camera, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Eberly.
Here.
Commissioner Kraus.
Here.
Commissioner Savage.
Here.
Chair Smith.
Here.
Commissioner
Navachoke.
Navachoke.
He is connected. Let's
Commissioner Navachoke, can you hear us? If you can, could you unmute and come on video, please? So it looks like maybe she's having some connectivity issues. So we do have a quorum, so we can go ahead. And if you wanted to come back to item number 2, we'll take it one step at a time.
All
I'll
right.
just continue to look for her.
Thank you so much. I will continue the motion from Commissioner Kraus. If we could pull the motion on screen, please.
We're going to need to check if there's any public comment. So is there anybody that is joining online that would like to make a public comment on the agenda item number 1, the ability to have a virtual meeting? If you would like to, you need to raise your hand. If not, we will go to the vote. There are no hands, Chair.
Thank you. We'll go alphabetically with commissioners. Commissioner Eberly. Commissioner Kraus. Commissioner Savage.
Aye.
Chair Smith. Aye. We have a unanimous vote on this. We hope that Commissioner Navachoke's technical issues are addressed. I know me and staff have met. Hi.
Oh, there she
Hi,
is.
Tracy. We had a phenomenal training session. We're excited about her being on the commission. If you'd like to share some words with the Commissioner Navachoke.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I apologize for that miscommunication. I had some trouble connecting.
I'm texting her.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
You froze for a second.
So I have texted her. We can maybe give her a second or just go on to agenda, the approval of minutes.
All right, let's do addition and changes before. She's back. Commissioner Navich, okay, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Can you say a few words to the commission?
Of course, and I apologize for the situation of travel and the miscommunication, but I'm very happy to be here, very happy to join and honored to be a part of this commission. My name is Tracy Navichoke, and I am a program manager at Stanford University. I have been living in Palo Alto for 2.5 years, and I admire the work that the city is doing and hope to contribute to its efforts of inclusion and working to diversify our thoughts and our actions as well.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'm going to do public comments, then go to addition and changes. If we have anybody from public that would like to make public comment on anything that is not on the agenda.
I do not see any hands, Chair.
Thank you so much. Do we have any agenda changes, additions, and deletions? All right. There are none. In your packet, you received the sense minutes from the September 8th, 2022 meeting. Are there any changes that need to be made? Or changes? I'll accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
Thank you, commissioners. We have a motion by Vice Chair Everly and a second by Commissioner Savage. Are we ready for the question? Commissioner Everly? Commissioner Kraus? Commissioner Navichoke? You have to say it for us, so because we have.
She wasn't at the meeting.
And she read, oh yeah, right. Good, thank you. Commissioner Savage?
Aye.
Chair Smith? Aye. Thank you. All right. Report on the review of the Human Services Resource Allocation Process Application and Review Procedures. Myself, staff, and Commissioner Kraus have had the opportunity to sit through, is it 3 sessions? It was a total of 3 sessions. What we did was we did 2 sessions with nonprofit leaders that have either applied or didn't apply or are thinking of applying for HISRAP, asking them what they saw as some of the drawbacks and some of the challenges. We also had opportunity to meet with some of the reviewers since our commission has been cut from 7 to 5 in order to spread the work out. We've invited several community leaders to be part of the process, and I think it helps the process be more robust. Generally, people are happy that they receive funds. They like staff a lot, so I'll give them that. Their challenges and frustrations come around the application process, particularly several segments. They seem to be duplicative. They also have challenges around the timing of it. They said the turnaround is too quick as compared to other cities. They also, their biggest issue was the amount of work that was required to do and fill out the application. I'm happy to say that staff was very receptive. They're working on some solutions towards that, but I want to turn over Commissioner Kraus and also staff so they can share their thoughts.
Commissioner Kraus, can you turn on your microphone, please? Thank you.
Essentially, the group we spoke to, their major concerns were administrative, as the chair has suggested. And I think staff will attempt to streamline. They will attempt to include materials that can be filled out online, if not immediately, in the soon future. And the groups are grateful for the monies they get. They have decisive areas that they need to use them in. And let's just try to make it easier for consideration. Because most of these have small staffs and are not experts at grant making.
Thank you. Staff, do you have any comments?
No, I just appreciate the chair and the commissioner hosting the meetings. It was good to hear feedback from the recipients of funding on the actual application process. It had been a while since we did that, and know that Elena and I are working to be able to create an easier, more streamlined process for the applicants this year. So that's also a big project in itself. And, but
Yep.
we are working hard to make that happen. Not everything maybe that the grantees would like to see will happen this year, but I think it will be a significantly different looking application if we're able to pull it off. So we commit to definitely working on that process, and we appreciate everybody's participation up till now. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
I don't see any hands, Chair.
Thank you much. All right, there is no vote required. All right, let us go to our needs assessment survey. I just want to say this the best way. I'm tired, so I'm not going to say it the best way, but I'll try. Our job is not to, at this point, is not to solve every problem on the list, or even to do a deep dive on the list. When we do the needs assessment, we are acknowledging the issues and that it's something that we as a community should focus on. I don't want us to get so far in the week. I've done this a few years and I've done it the long way, which is a 3.5, 4 hour way. You were there for that. So what I would like us to do, we're acknowledging these are issues. These are important to our community. We'll listen to city staff. We can ask about priorities and things like that. But let us try our best to make sure that we don't go too far into the weeds. One other thing, we are purposely broad on his rap needs. We are purposely broad on his rap needs. Broad. So we try to catch a lot of things in them, because what we want to be able to do is service our community. And if we make it too restrictive, we start cutting off people. So I'll turn it over to staff to give their report, but I just sort of wanted to give those two pieces before we got too much further in.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll just do a quick overview of the staff report and then open it up for any questions from the commissioners and to see if there's any public comment. So again, as the chair said, this is our biennial Human Services Needs Assessment. We do this every 2 years to hear back from the providers of services in our community to see how things are going for them, to see what the needs, what the barriers, what the gaps are. And we purposely ask the same questions. I think we've been asking the same questions over a series of years so we can see how those answers change. So as the chair said, we're looking at this information tonight solely for the purpose of looking at what we see here versus what the proposed priority of needs are. And this is for the next HISRAT cycle. So that is a 2-year cycle starting June 1st, 2023 to July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2025. So as the chair said, HISRAP has historically had a very wide berth of needs that have been included on the priority of needs. And really, if you look at the needs that are listed, they are the needs that unfortunately, people continue to have challenges with. And HISRAP historically has had that wide net for these needs. One thing I always point out when I do this is not a scientific study. Obviously, we send this out to our HISRAP grantees. We send this out to other providers of services that HISRAP covers on the current priority of needs in the community. We send it to the folks that get the big human services contracts but aren't in HISRAP. And these results are from their service lens. So it's 17 people filled it out, and that's who we're hearing from. So it's not, we can't say all the nonprofits are this, but it's been some pretty remarkable answers that you were seeing here. So what I always tell folks is like, well, how can we sift through this? There's so many needs. And what I say every year is to look at the gateway needs. Like if that need is met, someone has more ability to address another need in their life. Like if someone has a good meal, does that give them the capacity to be able to sit through an educational class to get a better job? What is the extent that needs are interconnected? Because that's always an important thing to take into consideration. And are there service needs not included in the priority of needs that HISRAP can play a role? There are many needs out there that if we had unlimited dollars, we could really say, yes, that's something we'd really as a community like to have an impact on. But HISRAP is about $500,000. So when I ask commissioners to look at this, it's like, well, what's really within the ability of HISRAP to make a positive impact on? So, and looking at the results, I'll just go over a couple of them and I'll leave the rest to you, is that in the top 5 human service needs, they were, affordable housing and affordable medical, dental care and disability, all tied for the top spot, followed by behavioral health and emergency financial assistance. And I can say that affordable housing has topped the list since we've started doing this. And traditionally, we've said that that is something that is one of those outside really the tent of HISRAP to really make an impact on with the funding that we have. Since last time, we've also been talking to our nonprofits to say, how has COVID impacted you? How has COVID impacted your clients? And last time, I think we asked a series of like 5 to 6 questions. And this time I thought it was more apropos or appropriate just to ask 2 questions. It's like, how are you doing? And how are your clients doing? And I just want to highlight the ones that really jumped out at me. And that was mental health challenges that are facing youth and adults, continued reluctance among vulnerable populations to return to in-person services, lingering financial struggles for both clients and the agencies that they serve, the rise in the cost of living, especially for housing versus one's income, the ever increasing cost of providing services for providers, and the many challenges that agencies face in finding and retaining staff. That definitely showed up. So we also have included in your packet some demographic info. And that's, as you see, some info that we have been tracking for quite a few years to see the change in that. And we include that as a point of interest. Elena did the work to collect all that demographic information. So if you have a couple questions, she may be able to answer them, but to really dissect it, that's something for another session. She can talk a little bit more about the source and if there was any related, associated extra information that was listed with the data source. So that is really my report. I think the one thing I always mention but haven't said yet is that if something showed up very low on the list, that doesn't mean it's no longer needed, but that just means that the current service level is enough, or faced with the other boxes to click about service needs, something else was just a higher need for the agencies that they wanted to bring to our attention. So that concludes my report. Elaine and I are here to answer any questions that you might have.
Can we go to public comment?
Sure, let's see if we have, I know. If you want to speak to this agenda item, can you raise your virtual hand? Georgia, I know you contacted me and
There we go.
I thought she let me know. So Georgia, so what will happen is, hold on. Oh, you will need to make me a co-host or I cannot give her the ability to speak. So if you do that for a second and we'll just go back to the screen. Georgia is the Executive Director of Senior Adult Legal Assistance, so I'm sure she'll tell us that. Yes, she was there. Okay. So Georgia, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, so you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, please.
great. I'm actually a directing attorney of Senior Adults Legal Assistance, and we're a nonprofit law office. We provide free legal services to seniors countywide and in Palo Alto. We target clients that are very low income or at risk of abuse or loss of independence. And we currently receive his RAP fundings. We thank you very much. 76% of the Palo Alto seniors we served last year were very low income. 69% were 75 or older, and 62% had a disability, factors placing them in great economic and social need. During COVID, we provided our services remotely and primarily by phone. This is at Avenidas, and we're very grateful for their hosting our services. That said, we still continue to serve clients by phone, in particular clients that have emergencies such as elder abuse or those that are in fear of leaving the safety of their homes and exposing themselves to COVID. It does continue to be an ongoing fear. Excuse me. Legal assistance is a critical need for seniors, even though we did not rank very highly on the list of priorities. We continue to see clients with legal problems related to the public benefits that they rely on for their safety net needs, benefits like Social Security, SSI, Medicare, and Medi-Cal. We continue to see clients worried about eviction, needing reasonable accommodations in housing because of a disability, or whose housing is otherwise in jeopardy. We also see clients that need to do basic planning for incapacity or end stages of life, but they can't afford a private attorney. COVID heightened awareness of the importance of this kind of planning so that older adults and their families can be prepared should they face serious illness or death. And regrettably, we continue to see an increase in clients that are victims of elder abuse, usually by someone living in their homes or someone they know, an adult child, a grandchild, caregivers, tenants renting out rooms, even their neighbors. Dysfunctional family or living situations were amplified during COVID, which we believe continues to be a contributing factor. We are pleased that legal assistance for seniors and elder abuse prevention were identified as priority needs for his RAP for 2024-25. Seniors are the fastest growing segment of our population, and one of the populations that was most impacted by COVID in the past and may continue to be impacted. So addressing the needs of this population is very important. We do want to thank his RAP staff for recognizing this as a priority now and in the future, and we do hope that the commission will agree with that assessment. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you so much, Georgia, and thank you for the service you provide for our community.
Is there anyone else that wants to address the commission on this topic? Please raise your hand. I see no more raised hands, Chair.
All right. I want to do this round robin. Get everybody's take on what they're seeing on the paper. And then I'll ask council liaison if they have anything to say. And then I will also want to make an addition that I want to make a recommendation to the city council on something specific for the needs assessment. All right. Let's start with Commissioner Savage.
Okay, no real surprises here. I'd be interested to see how this compares to the last couple of years and the years before. Is anything, did anything jump up ahead or fall down sharply?
I actually did that work for you. So let me just look through it a second.
Good question.
So I did want to, so for the top service needs, it was what didn't show up so much on the top this time was some of the financial assistance programs. But if you look at the top three barriers, this time it was ability to pay, stigma and embarrassment and language. 2 years ago, it was transportation, ability to pay and language. As far as anything new at your agency in regards to the clients that you serve, this time it was number of clients, average profile, and other, which is delineated below. Last time, other was the top thing. So I think during COVID, they just had a lot to say about their clients' needs. Then came number of clients and how people respond to their situation. And then what is your agency doing to respond to these other issues? Basically, that was exactly the same. They tried new things, they tried changes in program format, and they tried new programs. And as far as what are the trends that may impact your programming, that was exactly the same order as it was in 2020. Funding availability, as you can see this year, it's 94%. Challenges with hiring and retaining staff, and rising internal costs. So the same. Does that answer
Okay.
your question?
Yeah, it does. The other question I had, you said that 17 out of 40 returned the survey.
That is correct.
So how confident are you that this is a pretty representative sample? Is that about the usual number you get?
No, this was less than last time. I will have to say that we did it earlier than we usually did, but respondents had over 2 weeks to return it. Last time we actually got 27 results. So this was less, but as I said in my intro, I think this is just a representative of those that turned it in, but I feel confident in the results because they so much mirror the results of last time when we had 10 to 12 other agency representatives turn in their results.
Okay,
So
good
the-
to hear.
So the
Thank you.
variables haven't changed.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
it was less people, but they were amplifying, a lot of the same issues. There's some things that people brought up that I have not seen before. I mean, the issues of racism in the community and different results for BIPOC communities. I listed that under one of them. I have not seen that before, and that's something I just wanted to highlight that I saw.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Navachoke?
Thank you. I would like to sort of withhold a specific comment as I'm becoming familiar with everything, but I find this very interesting. I read some of the attachments that were included in the agenda. And as for now, this is all relatively new to me, so I cannot provide, key analysis, but I think in time and in the next meeting, I'll be able to have a more poignant question. Thank you for sharing this information.
Thank you. Commissioner Krause?
You know, I think that staff has done a very competent job of looking at the aggregate and then drilling down to specifics. I think the only thing that I would remark on, I only wish we had more money because these organizations are doing such a good job. And many are handicapped by not having staff that are smaller to be able to fill out the breadth of the application process. Those are my only two comments. The demographic information is useful. I'm concerned about the rise of racism across the board in this and everything that we do at this moment. That's concerning. And particularly regarding affordable housing, elder abuse, it's just very concerning. You know, Palo Alto, I've always considered the jewel of Silicon Valley. And we're doing a good job, but we can always do more. And I don't know, Chair, if we can explore other avenues to expand the pot. And if we thought that through, I'm sorry, staff.
No,
Have we thought that through?
The council
What?
member, talk to the council member. It's Councilmember Stone, if you want to expand funding. Talk to Councilmember Stone.
Never mind.
No, but the city council is the place that we this is a city-run program, so all funding has to go through council.
I understand,
Mhm.
but do we have an active lobby?
Us to our council liaison.
Okay. But I commend staff. They've done a rigorous job.
Thank you. I just want to add something to that. I appreciate the acknowledgement of the work that Elena and I did for this, but I wanted to point something out that I don't think I did earlier. So, I mean, yes, we could put the results of the survey questions, but we felt it was important to put all these comments on because that's the ability to give our nonprofits and our
That's the
service
narrative.
providers their voice for you to hear them. So you might have felt like, oh, 10 pages of comments, but
Mhm.
I really didn't. I condensed some of them. I will be honest, but I wanted to have their voices heard. So I just wanted to add that because I don't think I said that earlier.
Well, and beyond chair of myself, it gives the other commissioners a close-up of what's been said and what their concerns are. Thank you.
Commissioner Eberly. I'm sorry, Vice Chair Eberly.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you could put on your microphone, Vice Chair. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I always forget. Yep, this is great, super comprehensive. And I know it must have taken hours and hours and hours of work, so we appreciate it. I have a couple of questions. Mental health, has that been always on the top or is that new?
It has been in the top for several years. I think I can't say for how long, but I can say that in a community that has had challenges, in supporting our youth and with the suicide clusters and really focusing on youth well-being and mental health, I can tell you that at least since the time of the impetus of Project Safety Net, that we have had prioritized youth well-being and youth mental health as a city and as on the HISRAP. We were the primary provider of or supporter of youth mental health programs on the school district when we were supporting youth adolescent counseling services. The city was paying for the majority of that contract for years in in a show of our feeling of the importance of mental health programs on the school campuses. At this point, the school district, has for several years, been highly supportive of it. I mean, it's always been a priority for the school district, but just through his rep and through that one provider, we were able to make a big difference.
And I know that there was some needs that were identified and connected to COVID. Are there others that you'd like to bring our attention to? I know that there's the elder population being
Right.
affected by COVID and still fearing any other COVID related.
I would just go back to the vulnerable populations. So that are individuals with special needs who have had challenges coming back in person because a lot of them were taking, some, public transportation. So it's not just the concern of being in person, it's taking the public transportation and being there. I would say services for older adults. And I would say, it's not completely, childcare is on the HISRAP list. And I think we do that mostly through support of youth programming. But I know that our childcare programs have been highly impacted of people that have been reluctant to bring their children back to congregant care. There have been other groups that have found new ways of doing business, and they've actually flourished doing it in a combination of ways and will continue to offer both virtual and in person. So it's extended services to some and it's limited to others, especially I feel like for the programs for older adults or the programs for individuals with disability, it's that human connection. It's that feeling of isolation at home. So those vulnerable populations always are top of mind when I look at these results and when I hear from our providers.
Mhm. One other thing, so I noticed in one of the comments about the gap in services was that parents of children with special needs facing difficulties in navigating the school district with their children are young and adult support services when they grow up or are transitioning to adulthood. So this is a gap. Are there any not-for-profits in the city of Palo Alto that address this?
I would say that I can't speak to all the programs at Ability Path, but I know that they are when a child, even before they are in school, when they're still in preschool and they have been identified as maybe that someone needs to have, I'm trying to think of the right word, they need to do some testing of assessment. Thank you, Elena, to do an assessment of their child. The state's rehabilitation contracts with the county entity, and they contract with Ability Path. So they're starting to see these kids very young. And it is my understanding that they, have staff on board that helps parents understand, what their options and what their rights are. I do know that you hear from parents of children with special needs that it is a challenge, to find appropriate programming for their children. And that's in the school system, but also in community programs, including those, that the city offers. So it's a continual process of knowing what's out there, making sure your child is connected. If they get rejected from the program or they say they're not qualified, continuing to advocate for their child. And that just goes on for many, many parents, as their child gets older. And I am not an expert on this, but I'm just speaking from my experience working with these agencies.
I remember seeing Ability Path on HISRAP applications before, but it was for adult services. So I
Right,
didn't
we
know.
do fund them for adult and
Mhm.
children's services.
They're actually doing that. They're opening a children facility that kids can use. So they can 25th of this month.
What's that, Chair? I couldn't hear him, sorry.
They're doing a ribbon cutting for a facility that's
Yes.
specifically for children, if I remember correctly, or young adults, if I
I know
remember.
they're doing a ribbon cutting, yes.
Yes,
I got that in my inbox today.
I am attending, so.
That's wonderful.
Okay.
Great.
Um,
Well,
you did?
yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. All right. I think my other commissioners have asked the questions. I've spent enough time with these assessments. I will say this, and this is going to lead into a further discussion after this. I think it was the early 2010, 2012, we brought in a third party to do an in-depth dive.
Oh, actually, no, if I can,
Yes, ma'am.
at that time, because what I'm about to say is actually more impressive,
Mhm.
is that 2012 is when we did a deep dive. But we did this with the help of a summer college intern and with the subcommittee of the Human Relations Commission that interviewed probably 25 area human service leaders, probably hosted up to 10 to 12 focus groups with service providers and service recipients. And then one of the commissioners wrote a 40-page report that was at the level of a contractor.
That is spectacular. I'm grateful for the shoulders we stand on. But moving forward, I would love to go to City Council next for a contractor to do this. Because given that our commission is no longer 7 people, and none of us are retired. None of us are retired. I believe we are coming into a world where the landscape is changing and has changed. I think we won't know what it finally looks like until probably a year or 2 from now. But I think it's critical for us as a city in this changing demographic to really do a deep dive on our needs assessments. I think our nonprofits are doing a phenomenal job. And I think the needs assessment they've laid out, I feel, are as good as you can get with the information we have right now. Will deeper dives and new research and looking in different corners bring new results? I don't know, but I think the exercise is absolutely critical. What was the other piece that was on my mind? So I think that's my 2 pieces tonight. The other thing is, I think we also need to make a recommendation to council to look at the amount that his rap is funded. We are now coming into severe inflationary pressure. I felt it today as I went to the gas station. And the economy, service providers are going to be under tremendous pressure in the next 24 months. So we ought to start planning for that. And it'll make it easier if we start getting ahead of the curve, knowing what we see and knowing what economists says and seeing what the Fed is doing and seeing what's happening in the stock market and seeing what's happening with GDP and other things that are clear indicators. We as a city need to start investing in giving more services and start now instead of playing catch up. So those are my 2 pieces on it. And now we'll give it to a distinguished council member, and then we will did we do public comment already?
Yes, we did.
Okay, the council member will have the last thing, and then we'll do some action. I'll make a proposed motion.
Great, thank you, Chair Smith, and good to see everybody. I just really impressed by the survey. So thanks to staff for getting that done. I recall surveys like this when I served on the HISRAP, but I don't think it has ever been as well organized and kind of easy to read and understand the extent of the issues and being able to really spot both where services is adequate and where there's some gaps in the coverage. So I think this is going to be both highly beneficial for the commission, and I hope all of council gets to takes the time to review this as well, because this is really good information. I think just on the overall, on the conversation on funding, on his wrap, and Minka, maybe you can correct me if it was this past budget cycle or the budget cycle before that council did finally increase funding for his wrap for the first time in a long time. That was a good victory, but still, we all probably agree, at least in this room, that his wrap continues to be underfunded. So that would be a continued fight, and encourage all of you to really advocate for that the next time we get to the budget cycle in June. On Commissioner Krause's frustrations around funding, especially for affordable housing, I share your frustrations and concerns. Clearly, the community does as well, and that continues to be, I think, one of the greatest needs in Palo Alto and in the region. From the council perspective, I mean, a lot is being done to try to address that, but as you all know, creating affordable housing costs tens of millions of dollars. The cost per door is around $800,000, and it's probably now gone up because of inflationary impacts, as the chair just mentioned. But things, I mean, what happens on November 8th is going to have a big impact on this, given the business tax that's on the ballot, and council has done other things such as increasing commercial impact fees to be able to continue to add to that to our affordable housing pot. The one thing that struck me, and so I think not only is this an issue to advocate amongst council members for increased funding for affordable housing, but also a call to really, I think, need to start increasing advocacy at the state level as well. At our Policy and Services Committee meeting on Tuesday night, we had our lobbyists kind of presenting on various state bills that have passed in this past legislative session. As you're all probably aware, I think it was one of, if not the highest budget that the state has ever had. We had a budget of about $307 billion. That was a $100 billion surplus. And for a state that has been talking nonstop about the need for more housing, and especially affordable housing, they really did not put the money where their mouth is. There was only $2 billion allocated to housing, and actually that $2 billion was split in between homeless services and actual housing production. So that comes out to less than or around 0.005% of the state's budget. So I continue to wonder if this is truly a one of the state's highest priority, why we're not funding it. And I think that just requires more public attention and greater advocacy from cities and groups like this one that is really focused and concerned on these issues. So I think we hear you on the funding issue. Again, I think it comes down to a matter of dollars. I think we're doing, I don't want to say, I'm sure there's more that we can be doing, and I think council continues to be concerned about this issue and trying to find additional ways to increase those funding. But the problem is so massive, we really need more state and federal funds. So I think that's where we're at there. But thank you again to staff and the commission for your work on this.
Thank you so much, Council Member. I want to do two separate motions this evening so that we can keep it clean.
Okay, if we can just wait for Elena to get it up, because we want to record these as you say them.
I'm a mess up. Now that you're recording me, I'm going to get this wrong. The first motion is going to be a clean motion just to approve the priority of needs as described, the priority of needs from last year. I think that's probably the best way to put it. And that's what you have on the sheet, and that's the final recommendation in the staff report. Mhm. As described in the report. Okay. Do we have a second on that motion? Commissioner Kraus seconds the motion. Are we ready for a vote? Yep, okay. We'll start at the top of the alphabet. Vice Chair Eberly. Commissioner Kraus. Commissioner Navachoka.
Aye.
Commissioner Savage.
Aye.
Um, Chair Smith, aye. I forgot myself. That's great. I'd like to make a second motion that the HRC make a, what do we call it? A recommendation to council to fund a needs assessment, a deep needs assessment, deep dive.
I would say a human services needs assessment.
Fund a human services needs assessment by third-party contractor. Because I know if I send it up, if we send it up to city council without that last part, they'll send it back to us and tell us to do it. All right. Do we have a second on the motion?
Just a reminder to use your microphone so the folks at home can hear.
I'll second it.
Vice Chair Eberly? Okay, we'll start from the back of the alphabet this time. Chair Smith? Aye. Commissioner Savage?
Aye.
Commissioner Navachoka?
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus? Vice Chair Eberly?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to save my last motion till March. I'm going to, I don't think there is. I'm going to ask this commission to in February or March write a letter to council asking for more funding for his RAP. Having reviewed it for the last two cycles, understanding that before we had significant economic pressure, we were receiving around $700,000 to $800,000 of request on a budget of $500,000, and it's a standard variation. I'm grateful for council that during COVID they gave us an additional $200,000, so we were grateful for that. But it would be nice if that $200,000 just stayed there. So we're going to ask that they will, in March, when it comes to budget cycle, I'll ask my fellow commissioners to support me on writing an official request to the city council.
So yeah, so 2 years ago, they gave a 200,000 in recognition of COVID, but this year they also gave an additional 50,000. So the 200,000 was a one-time extra.
Well, we'll see if we can make that permanent. Yes, ma'am. You have to use your mic, please.
Question. How do we know, is it March? Is it now? And do we reiterate it in March? What is your choice?
We will be finishing going through the packet, so we'll be sending them his RAP package up around March or April. Is that correct timing, Minka?
Well, how it works with his RAP is, his RAP will come to the commission in March.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is the baseline allocations for his RAP are included in my department's budget that goes to the council for consideration for fiscal year 2024. So the council is not going to make any decisions for fiscal year 2024 till they're done with doing the fiscal year 2024 budget in June. So what you will get for instance, if the HRC was able to successfully advocate for more money on an extra, let's just say 75,000 on an ongoing basis, then we would allocate that 75,000 from the applicants that had applied this time, just like we did with the extra 50, but then that 75 would be in the base budget for next time. So if you are able to get an extra like 200,000, that would be in the base budget for next time. So then by the time the allocations actually get to council, those considerations will already be in place. But the council doesn't finalize the budget till usually early June. And if like Councilmember Greer, if I misspoke in any, Councilmember Stoneman, if I misspoke in any way, feel free to correct me.
So that's all accurate. At least in my 2 years of experience now, we typically take our final vote on the budget, typically on our very last meeting, which is usually the last week or so of June. But yeah, most of it's pretty finalized by the time June comes around, and we have a few meetings on it.
Yep. So I think March is when we start the campaign.
Yeah, if I could just add, because you really want to get this to the finance committee so it can get into the process early. Typically, by the time it comes to the full council, it's pretty baked in.
Thank you so much. But like I said, commissioners, this is absolutely critical. And I know on a lot of my site visits, finances are significantly stressed for nonprofits in this fundraising environment. So we got to do our best to help them. All right. What's the next item? Do we have anything else on this item?
No, Chair.
All right. Doing good time tonight, guys. Let's talk about our discussion, next steps on the council referral to research the lived experience of Asian American and Pacific Islanders. I will be 100% transparent with the HISRAP and some other things, plus traveling back to East Coast for funeral. I was unable to do my reach out that I needed to do for this. But has anybody else reached out to anyone? Yes, please. Oh, I was asking, has any other commissioners made any reach out?
I did.
Yes, Commissioner Krause.
And I've reached out to the chair as well to offer the background and all the decade-long work I'd done with the Asian communities. Actually, I even had a long discussion with one of our grantees outside of the parameters of what we fund on this particular issue. So there's much we need to learn and much we need to understand of the parameters of what this includes. So when you're ready, I'm here.
Thank you so much. Vice Chair?
So I have reached out to some community members that I know, and then they connected me with other community members. So I have several people who are happy to be interviewed and contribute in any way they can.
Thank you so
And they're
much.
also happy to connect with more people. And one of them is running for school board right now.
Oh,
And she mentioned that she felt that it's really important that we have, a diverse group, which I agree with, and people of all ages. So I do want us to reach out. And I know that we'll easily get people from the high schools to also be a part of it. And also elder participants as well. So I've told them to hang tight and we'd get back to them. But people are excited to do this and are willing to contribute and help in any way they can.
thank you so much. All right. I think I'm going to connect with both of you. Commissioner Savage, do you have anything to add?
No, I have not yet, but I will.
Okay. And I spoke with Commissioner Navichoke. Do you have anything to add?
I don't have have anything to add at the moment, but I would like to participate on this research and on these next steps.
Okay. I do need a second on this.
Part of this.
I do need a second on this effort because I think I'm the only one since my good friend Commissioner Valley Stringer left. So I wonder if I could work with Commissioner Navachoke on this. Am I right? Am I wrong? Staff's looking.
You know, in all honesty, I don't have, I'd have to think really quickly where the list is of who signed up for what, and I don't remember that. I mean, is there another commissioner that remembers that they put their hand up for this?
Nobody said it was me. Okay, so we have a new order now. Thank you.
I remembered his rap and CDBG, but
Yeah. All right. Plus, we'd like to give our new commissioner some work to do.
Yes,
All right.
thank you.
All right.
May I also,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, I'm still learning the orders of speaking. And I also would like to wave goodbye to everyone since I do have another commitment now, but it's been a pleasure and I look forward to meeting you all in person.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Commissioner Epperly, I will. How do we do this, right? Like if with the Brown Act.
I was thinking of that too when let me look into it a little bit more. What I don't think let me think about it a little bit more.
Because
You certainly can't.
I don't know what we can do.
I don't know what you can do, but you certainly can't, get together
Because
to
if I
talk about this other than the two that are on the subcommittee.
but
But
I have
just
two other.
looking at the roles of how other people can contribute it, and I'll check with the attorney's office. I think it might just be that any information that they come across is just all filtered through me. And then I would share that in a public setting because I can't then just share that with the subcommittee because, yeah. So I will look into that a little bit more.
If Councilmember Stone, if we have more members, I could actually have like 3 people on a subcommittee. Be helpful, right? Poor staff. Poor staff. It feels like an air traffic controller right now. All right. After staff gives us direction, after talking to city attorney, so that we can have a meeting to talk about what we need to talk about.
You can, all of you can work on it, but that means any gathering outside of this meeting in which more than 2 of you would want to talk about would need to be a publicly noticed meeting.
So here goes a question for you. If I have Janet reach out and I set up a meeting to talk to Michelle, and then I set up another meeting to talk to,
Yep.
That's a daisy chain meeting.
I don't know how you expect me to do this, but.
I will commit to looking into how this could be possible, but I really think other than I will look into it and see if I have misunderstood or if there's another option here that I haven't thought of this evening.
Okay. I think there's got to be some codicil for research.
Like I said, I'm not really doubting that multiple people can work on a project. It's how that information is discussed outside of the meeting or how it is passed on.
All right. So we'll wait for the city attorney to give us our next steps. I do need to do public comment on this.
Yes, and we do have someone that has raised their hand.
Thank you.
So if Elena can get up the clock. Okay. Kat, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to bring up 2 different stereotypes of Asian Americans that are harmful and useful to know. So when you start doing outreach and talking to people, keeping these in mind could be useful. One of them is the perpetual foreigner stereotype, which means that even people who have lived here for generations may still be considered to be foreign to this country. The second one is the model minority myth. And according to this stereotype, Asian Americans are really good at STEM. They're very wealthy, hardworking, uncomplaining, and never in need of assistance. And so I don't know what that looks like in Palo Alto, but I do know that nationwide during COVID, that a lot of people were not asking for the help that they needed, both mental health wise and also in terms of like hate crimes and the fact that their businesses were going under because no one was willing to buy stuff at, Chinese stores. So that might be another thing to pay attention to. The last thing that was really interesting, because I know when you're doing your outreach, you're going to be asking what it's like for people who live here, but I think it's also important to remember people that don't live here anymore. So in terms of Executive Order 9066, the Pali Verde magazine had a really good article from 2016, and it's called Interned, the Local History We Can't Let Ourselves Forget. And I'm not going to go through the whole article, but they mentioned that there used to be 3 blocks of Japanese Americans on nearby Ramona Street downtown, and that for various reasons, none of them ever moved back here after the internment camps were done. They mostly moved to Chicago area. So that might be kind of a relevant piece of history that you might not get from people who are living here right now, possibly. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you, Kat. Commissioner Stone, I'm sorry, not Commissioner. Part of my mistake. Councilmember Stone, do you have anything to add to this one?
No, I don't. It's really a really important work and continuing. Interested to see what the commission comes up with. I definitely hear you on the frustration of the 5-member commission. I think it handcuffs you in an unfair way, and I remain committed to expanding the commission. And all of this is really good information to be able to bring back when that issue finally comes before council, to be able to show the incredible work that you do. As you said, none of you are retired, and so we need to get more commissioners to be able to help you do this work. So I appreciate you all sacrificing your time in order to be able to do this. And no worries calling me a commissioner. I've been a commissioner far longer than I've been a council member, so it's a familiar title. Thank you.
Thank you so much, council member. We hope you're a council member longer than you were a commissioner. How about that?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so let's discuss, we're in item 7, which is the rhythm of our year. Generally, we take December off, because it's a holiday season, everybody's that. Then we come back in January and we hold elections. Being that we are a 5-member commission, and I'm going on sabbatical for the month of January, we will have a position where we have a parliamentary issue for our next elections. We don't have a tie-breaking vote. So we have a couple of options. We have 3 distinct options. We could do a special December meeting where we have all 5 of us do the vote. We can go ahead with a 4-person vote in January, or we can go ahead and do the vote in February as a 5-person vote. So the choices are up to us. We can open the public comment and then we can have a discussion.
I see no raised hands, Chair.
All right, commissioners.
I think it's best to have all 5 members vote since we're already so small. So either a special meeting in December or February. I'm okay and flexible with either.
Commissioner Krause.
I agree. I think it's important for all 5 of us to be able to vote. So there's not any difficulty with doing it in February. Maybe we proceed in that fashion.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing. February is probably better than December, I believe, and
Mhm.
I'm flexible either way.
All right. This is what I can ask staff to do. Staff, can you do a poll on December dates? Because we'd probably just do a one item meeting. Well, we do two items. We'd have to do the teleconferencing piece, and then we'd have to do the vote. We can go through. All right. Let's do commissioner reports.
Did you want to have that, it is listed as an action item. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be an action item.
I think
I will leave that up to the commission just to
the,
feel like if you have to express, the chair has the authority to call a special meeting or change a meeting. But I know that,
I wouldn't do that.
the commitment was to have this discussion here. So I just give that information. I just wanted to check.
I think that we, except for Commissioner Navachoke, that every commissioner is willing to look at flexible dates. I think the best next step for us is probably do a doodle poll or something to see if December or February work, and then we can have the final discussion on it in our November meeting. You didn't hear me?
I can't hear over here for
So-
some reason.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Can I turn it up? Okay.
Please.
So basically what I said was I asked staff to do a survey to see if a December date or a February date would work. And then we would make a final move on it in our November meeting.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. All right. Do we have any commissioner reports?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, Commissioner Sarah.
Okay, it's regarding the site visits. I visited La Comida, which is a lunch program for people over 60 years old at Stevenson House. And it was an amazing visit. Kitchen staff of 4 people prepare about 350 lunches a day. I visited with Bill Blodgett, who is the co-president of the board. And of the 350 lunches, the majority are people getting their meals to go, which is kind of a habit started by the pandemic and it's continued. But they emphasize that, the line to get your meals, yes, it's long, but it's also a great opportunity to socialize. So, it's all good. And I was invited to stay for lunch, which I did. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the quality of the food. It was meatloaf day. I don't even eat meat, but it was delicious. And the rumor is the meatloaf is the leftover recipe from Stickney's restaurant, for those of you who remember Stickney's. So I just wanted to give a plug for the quality of lunches. They said, they also serve salmon, and I mean, it's just remarkable. So yeah, it was a very good visit. I also did a site visit with Commissioner Kraus. It was over Zoom with Michelle Liu of Health Trust, and they deliver Meals on Wheels. And pre-pandemic, they were delivering about 2,000 meals throughout the county per week. Since the pandemic, demand has skyrocketed to 8,000 meals. And although most meals are delivered to the homes in San Jose area, they do have 36 clients in Palo Alto. And talking about meals again, there are 3 choices for meals. They can have Asian fusion, veggie, or Italian American, and all are really delicious and nutritious, according to Michelle Liu. It takes a ton of logistics to serve 8,000 meals per week, but they get it done. And when the drivers deliver the meal, they do a wellness check on the client, make sure homebound seniors are okay. And if they have a concern, they immediately report it. And Oh, and the quote from Michelle is, "Our staff really loves Minka." That would be you.
Yep.
And anything, have I missed anything?
The only thing she told us is she hasn't, shall we say, publicized widely that there is an Asian fusion menu because they would be overwhelmed and don't have the people, the resources, or the funding to double the number of meals delivered right now in Palo Alto.
And I have one more. Commissioner Epperly and I met for the Emerging Funds grants. We received 2 applications this round. We reviewed them both, and a final decision will be made next week.
Any other commissioners?
Well, Chair, you and I had a meeting with the FBI office again
Mhm.
about the kind of services they can support in the city. And I think we're looking very carefully of what we can do and what we want to do long-term. We had a deliberate conversation about active shooter
Mhm.
and potentially the need and the desire to have people exposed to that and have a meeting in Palo Alto so people are aware of what they need to do and what they can do going forward. And Chair, did I miss anything?
I'll cover the rest. It was pretty good though.
Okay. It was a good meeting.
It was a good meeting. I thought it was a good meeting.
Again, yeah. And that's the second meeting we've had. And they've been very good meetings. Lots of information.
I think we ought to tell them about the first meeting because the first meeting happened since our last meeting.
No, we had a first meeting in person and you were out of town
Yeah,
because
but
of,
the rest of the commission doesn't
Oh,
know
okay.
about that meeting.
okay, no, you were not.
No.
Okay, sorry.
Tell them about the meeting. Tell them about the
Oh.
first meeting with the 17
personal-
FBI officers.
The first meeting, and Minka was there with me as yes, all of us were there together. And it was insightful, instructive, informative. It was nice to have the new chief and the assistant chief there. All law enforcement like coming together to talk about the needs assessment for the commission in this instant at this time. And the subsequent phone call we had resulted from the discussion.
Thank you. All right. And you forgot to tell them about the his rap stuff. You also did his rap since the last meeting.
Well, I did HESREP with Commissioner Savage, and I have more HESREP to do.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. This month's been a busy month. Just a little bit. Go, Commissioner.
Would you go before you since you do your final?
And I can go before you. You can go. You go. Okay. Ladies first.
Mine is brief because a couple of my things already have been discussed. I just wanted to mention that I did do 2 of my site visits. The first one was with Peninsula Healthcare Connection. They run the medical clinic at the Opportunity Center. I met with Drew Navarro, super enthusiastic. He showed me around the clinic and their newest addition, which is, I don't know if I can't remember if it's a partnership with Stanford or Stanford gave them the funds, but they bought a vehicle. So it's a special car. It's like, looks like a box and it opens up completely. The doors open up so that it becomes like a little sitting area.
Really?
Yes, so that they can move people if they need to be moved, or what they're doing, which I think is a great idea, and apparently Drew does this all the time, he just bikes around too, is outreach where they go to the homeless population to provide medical services. So with this car, they're able to, bring all their equipment and go in, and they have a little area where they can see people. So they were very excited about that. So I got to see the car, and they're just waiting for the license plate to start going around. The other visit that I did was with Dreamcatchers. They run tutoring for middle school students, not middle-aged, middle school students at the 3 middle schools here in Palo Alto. And they use high school and college tutors who come in and do one-on-one help. They help the kids. They also now do a social emotional learning unit. Every day they have a little bit of social emotional learning going on. And they have some college students who do intern there, help with creating the games that they play and the lesson plan. So it's a great opportunity for college kids to get real life experience on the field. They also talked a little bit about obstacles that they have and things that they're looking to increase funding. There's a need for more snacks and better snacks. And another thing is transportation, because they need to have the tutors come to the middle schools and people from colleges and from the high schools to come to the middle schools, and not, obviously everybody has a car. So they also they help out transportation of the kids as well, or try to facilitate that as well. So it was great to see them in action. And that's it.
Thank you. All right. This month, we started off by joining several public officials at the Oshman Center. I know Councilmember Stone was there. Michelle was there. Darrell watched as we stood against hate and anti-Semitism and spoke out. We had our Attorney General there. Congresswoman Eshu was there. We, after 6 months of trying, finally got a meeting with the FBI in Palo Alto. Unfortunately, I had a family funeral out of town. I will give the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It took them a while to get here, but they showed up with everybody from the office. They actually, I think at the final count, there was 7 or 8 officers or special agents, sorry, not officers, special agents. We were well represented in our PB by our chief and assistant chief and some of the other command staff. We also had representation from the city manager's office in the building. And, and we had Congresswoman Eshu's office also at the meeting. Phenomenal meeting. Given the incidents that we've seen at the Catholic Church and what we've seen with the gentleman that was hit by a car, which I was interviewed by the news for, these kind of activities become more and more critical as we move forward, because we need to do this for the community. We need to also spend, I know we made a commitment in our work to reach out to ACLU and some other folks. So we still have to get that part of the portfolio done, but we continue to work on the hate crime piece. We had a phenomenal discussion as described by Commissioner Kraus, which was a follow-up. Spoke with Chief Bender, which is good to say, Chief Bender. It's good to say that now. And he stated that the department's fully behind it. So I'm excited to see where we end up in the next few months with some community outreach with the FBI, a third party like the ACLU, ADL, and the FBI as we deal with hate. So we feel really good about that part of our portfolio. We also did the 3 meetings for his rap, which was extremely informative. We reported on already. We also did 2 site visits. We did Cassie, which I didn't realize it was in Milpitas. I was like, why did I book a 9 o'clock meeting in Milpitas when people are going back to work? Right? Bad choice. Really great team. Mental health is a significant issue. Their insight to me was before COVID, they did preventative work and then they would do triage or emergency work as in their portfolio. So they would see people that would go to the classrooms and tell them the services and say, we do these 5 things and let's see if we can help you before it gets too acute. They're so backlogged right now that they can't do any of the preventative stuff. They're strictly at triage. The other piece that is significant is they are reporting that they're having, like all nonprofits, terribly difficult time staffing. What they're finding is that to pay a mental health professional in a nonprofit space is they can't pay enough to keep them. If they do find them, the schools, the actual school systems actually start taking them because they start paying more than the nonprofits that were doing the mental health could do. Interestingly enough, Palo Alto doesn't pay the most. They're in the middle of the pack. So Palo Alto is struggling to get and recruit mental health people in the school system because they're not at the top of the pay chart. I think Cupertino or Saratoga or one of them is at the top of the pay scale. You know, it was someplace that surprised me. I think it was like Sunnyvale was like the top paying for mental health professionals for students, which is interesting. I had the opportunity to visit Vista Vision Center. Really great facility. They are coming out of COVID. They're really trying to figure out how to utilize technology with people because everything requires technology. So they're trying not only how to figure Apple devices, because Apple has some good accessibility stuff, but they're trying to really figure out how to use Android devices and talk to their people because average Apple phone is $1,000 purchase. And sometimes people on disability or loss of sight can't afford it. An Android device could be had for $200 to $300. They're doing a lot more on Zoom. So their facility, which is on the corner of El Camino in California, is empty-ish, but they're trying to figure out what the best option is as far as bringing and starting new activities in the building. But they are looking to keep that spot because you can get Caltrain, 280, 101, El Camino, everything sort of hits right there. So that's such a great location, especially for people that are visually impaired. The other thing that they said, and I never thought this would be an issue, they need the city or the state to pave El Camino by California Avenue because it has potholes. And when the blind go across the street, they're falling on the potholes. So I moderated the climate forum for the students here. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. And yeah, that was about it. That's been my month. All right. Commissioner Stone, we could do so much more if we had, Councilmember Stone, we could do so much more if we had 2 more people. See how efficient we are. Do you have any final comments for us?
Absolutely. Well, Chair Smith, I don't know if we want to add more members. It seems like you need more work.
No, I don't.
That was an impressive list. I don't have much to add. We had our board and commission recognition event a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately, I don't think any members from this commission were able to attend. Maybe
we were doing his rep visits.
Yep. Okay. So I know you've all been busy, but I still gave the speech on your behalf, and hopefully Minka has had an opportunity to be able to give you the gifts from the city. So just wanted to make you aware that did happen, and the city definitely appreciates all the work that you have been doing. Hopefully next year, all of you will be able to attend. Exciting news. I'm sure you're aware that the state did grant our $26.6 million of funding for Project Home Key It's a really exciting project, so that should be able to break ground. I would imagine in the coming months. And then finally, on Tuesday, we had already mentioned, we had our Policy and Services Committee meeting. There we got our quarterly update on the race and equity work the city has been doing. Much of that has been already vetted by the HRC. So thank you for all the work that you've done on that over the last few years. It's exciting. We only have 3 items of the 17 original referrals that remain incomplete. And some of that's just because of timing on certain things that they haven't been able to be completed. Others are just because they're large projects that's taking a lot of staff time and resources, but those should be done relatively soon. So I think the city is making good progress. There's always obviously much more to be able to be done, and there have been a lot of concerning incidents in the news that the chair just discussed, so the work is never complete, but I appreciate all the work that you are all doing. So that's my report.
I want to thank all of the commissioners. I can't, and Commissioner Savage could back me up on this. I feel like you guys have done a phenomenal job of being amazingly effective. And I've never heard like a commissioner report like that where everybody is firing on all cylinders and we're all out there in the community really working. So I'm just profoundly proud of this commission and the level of work we do. So thank you, everybody. I hope you all have a good evening, and I'll see you in November.
Do we want to do agenda planning?
Nope.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I just want to echo what the chair says. I'm just so impressed with how the commission has signed up for all those HISREP visits, and that you're out there doing it. It's not, I don't even have to do reminders. So thank you for your commitment. And I know that the recipients have enjoyed your visits and really feel heard and appreciated for the work that they do. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, council member.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.